At 40, Lina was the chief engineer of an oil and gas service company, but today, her focus was nowhere to be found. Something that happened that morning had completely derailed her. While stopped at a traffic light, Lina drummed her fingers on the steering wheel, waiting for a group of sleepy pedestrians to cross. Suddenly, she spotted a familiar face, a woman she recognized instantly. It was Jessica, her childhood friend. They hadn't spoken in years, yet Jessica appeared unchanged. She was still the same tall, slender figure with a short haircut and a distinctive hooked nose. Back in school, her long strides had earned her the nickname Compass. Lina couldn't help but smile at the memory, but when the traffic light turned green, she found herself not heading to the office, but following her old friend. What she saw next was startling. Jessica looked worn down by life. Her shoes were scuffed, her oversized raincoat hung loosely on her frame, and a tattered backpack slung over her shoulder completed the image of a woman who had seen better days. Lina watched as Jessica entered a large hardware store. A surge of nostalgia made her want to get out of the car and reconnect, especially after all the years that had passed. They had long since moved past any old grievances. But as she gathered her thoughts on what to say, Jessica emerged from the store. Dressed in a blue work robe, Jessica held a broom and a long-handled dustpan. Lina's heart sank as she observed her former classmate sweeping debris near a trash can. Her mouth fell open in disbelief. Overwhelmed, she turned the key in the ignition and drove away. Back in her office, Lina struggled to process what she had just witnessed. How had Jessica, once a bright student and an active participant in school life, ended up working as a cleaner? A flood of memories from their school days rushed back, memories so vivid it felt like just yesterday. The girls had first met in 1998 when they were both 14. After her parents' divorce, Lina and her mother moved in with her grandparents and changed schools. On her first day, Lina entered the classroom early and took a seat at the back by the window. As the other students filed in, a hush fell over the room. "Hey, new girl, you're in Jessica's seat. She'll be here soon," one kid laughed. Just then, a tall, slender blonde pushed through the crowd. "Let her sit. Don't touch her," Jessica declared, establishing her presence with authority. Lina quickly recognized that Jessica was a respected figure among her peers. The teachers beamed whenever she walked in, and students gravitated towards her. She was a natural leader, capable of rallying the class for any occasion, and everyone wanted to be her friend. That made it all the more difficult for the other girls to accept Lina. They had worked hard to win Jessica's favor, but here was this new girl who effortlessly captured her attention, spending time together after school and deepening their bond. As their friendship blossomed, Lina learned Jessica's secret. She was infatuated with Tom, a classmate who was charming but notoriously undisciplined. Despite his behavior, Jessica saw him as handsome and athletic, someone who could beat up anyone. Lina only got to see this Adonis a couple of weeks after transferring when he finally made an appearance, but she could already tell he had a magnetic presence. Jessica changed in an instant. She became quiet and contemplative, glancing at Tom with a shy smile whenever he was near. Unfortunately, Tom only approached Jessica to ask for help with his homework. "Sveta, you've been unusually quiet lately. Is it because of Tom?" Lina grimaced, trying to provoke a response. "Lina, don't be smart," Jessica snapped, her irritation palpable. "What's the deal? He's a total Neanderthal. He can't string two sentences together and only knows how to swear. What's interesting about him?" Lina smirked, hoping to lighten the mood. "Say one more word, and you're not my friend anymore," Jessica shot back. That moment marked the beginning of their first fight. Lina realized it was best to avoid discussing Tom altogether. Whenever Jessica raved about him, Lina chose silence, and the subject remained off-limits for the rest of the year. Things shifted when school resumed after summer break. Nobody expected Tom to advance to the 10th grade with the others, but he did. He made noticeable improvements in his studies. His grades went from failing to respectable threes. It seemed he had matured and finally had some ambitions. Now, Lina viewed him differently. She caught herself thinking about Tom far more than she wanted to. Instead of feeling annoyed by Jessica's praises, she found herself enjoying the conversations about him. Before long, Lina realized she was also in love with Tom, but she kept this secret to herself. If Jessica found out, it would surely end their friendship. Lina decided to let Tom make his choice without interference. Yet, Tom didn't seem to favor either of them. He interacted with both girls in a friendly manner, but Lina sensed he was aware of their mutual feelings. An incident at the start of the 11th grade clarified everything. As they entered the physics classroom, Tom tossed his backpack onto a desk and suddenly bent down to inspect something on the floor. He picked up a homemade wire ring, likely dropped by a student from the previous class. With a playful grin, he approached Lina and Jessica and said, "I found this ring in the sea. I'll marry whoever it fits." Lina eagerly extended her hand, but lively Jessica quickly chimed in, "Oh, it's perfect for me. Guys, look." She raised her hand above her head, displaying the ring to the entire class. "Tom proposed to me," she laughed. Lina withdrew her hand, confusion washing over her. Everything happened so quickly. In the background, one of their classmates jokingly shouted, "Bitter." Tom approached Jessica and kissed her on the cheek, sealing their bond as the class's groom and bride. Jessica radiated happiness, while Lina silently suffered, crying at night. At school, Lina did her best to hide her feelings, but during graduation, the weight of her emotions became too much to bear, and she confessed her love to Tom. "Lina, I'm sorry, but Jessica and I are serious. She's pregnant and we'll be getting married in a month." Lina was taken aback. Her best friend had kept such a significant secret from her. Was there a distance between them that she hadn't realized? Stunned, she turned to leave, her face burning with embarrassment. Just then, she heard Tom's voice behind her. "Why didn't you tell me sooner? Why stay silent? To be honest, I liked you much more than Jessica, and would have gladly given you the ring back then. But what's done is done," he sighed. "Yeah, you're right," Lina replied. "Just don't mention this conversation to Jessica, okay? Don't worry, I won't say a word. But don't come around us either, or I might not be able to hold back one day," Tom joked, but his words filled Lina with disgust. After that day, she distanced herself from both Jessica and her fiancé. Once she received her diploma, life pulled the former classmates in different directions. Lina went off to college, and when she returned to her hometown after graduating, her life was a whirlwind. She had little time for old friends. Lina got married, had a child, and built a successful career. Her life seemed perfect. She couldn't have asked for a better husband, and her daughter was thriving. 5 years later, the couple decided to have another child, and now their family was complete with 2 kids. Lina was happy, and that was all there was to it. So it was a shock for her to see Jessica today, once an excellent student, a beauty, and a leader. What had happened to her? Why had her life taken such a turn? Honestly, Lina had largely forgotten about her classmates. She skipped reunion parties and rarely ran into anyone from school. Those she did meet never brought up her past. It was likely because everyone knew about her crush on Tom. They probably didn't want to revisit those memories or remind Lina of her former friend. The unexpected encounter this morning weighed heavily on her mind. To clear her thoughts, Lina decided to stop by the hardware store where she had seen Jessica. As she approached the door, the 2 women collided unexpectedly, leaving Lina momentarily stunned. "Lina, is that you?" Jessica exclaimed, pulling her into a hug and smiling widely, revealing a toothless grin. Lina felt even more bewildered. "Jessica, hi, I saw you this morning, sweeping near the store. I decided to stop by after work. I was in such a rush earlier," she said, forcing a smile. "I'm glad you came by," Jessica said, playfully hitting Lina on the shoulder like a brother would, leaving Lina momentarily speechless. She was taken aback by such familiarity. They had long outgrown that kind of behavior. "Maybe we could go to a cafe and catch up on life and business," Lina suggested, a hint of confusion in her smile. "Sounds great, but I don't have any money," Jessica laughed. "If you cover it, I'm in." At the cafe, Jessica dove into the food with such enthusiasm that Lina could only sit back and watch in silence for a while. Let her eat. After a few moments, Jessica leaned back in her chair, sighing with satisfaction. "I never expected to see you near the trash can with a broom in your hands. I always thought you'd be somewhere up there," Lina said, pointing upward. "What happened? You were the best student in school." "Oh, that," Jessica waved her hand dismissively. "Love ruined me. Tom and I got married in August right after graduation. I had a daughter, and shortly after her birth, he ended up in prison for beating and robbing a guy, an athlete," she added with a sad smile. "And then what? 2 years later, he got transferred to a less secure facility, so I left my daughter with my mom and moved in with him. I wanted to be close to my husband." Lina was taken aback. "You left your baby to be with a convict? That can't be right. A mother should be with her child." "You don't understand," Jessica snapped. "I love him, and that justifies everything. After his release, we went home. My daughter didn't recognize me at first, but she eventually got used to me. Then Tom started drinking and became violent." "Why?" Lina asked, genuinely confused. "Because I didn't bring in money, didn't have a bottle ready, refused to run to the store, and a bunch of other things," Jessica sighed. "Eventually, I started drinking with him. It's easier that way. We're like one unit, husband and wife. We've always been there for each other," she defended. "But they took our daughter away. My mother got guardianship and raised her. Now she's married and works as a cook," Jessica said proudly. Lina stared in disbelief at her former best friend, who had once been a shining example of everything good. "And what now? Are you still living with Tom?" "Yes, of course. How could we live without each other? He's in jail again. Got 4 years this time, but I support him with packages and visits. I don't drink anymore. All my earnings go to him, even though my liver is acting up," she admitted. "Jessica, why do you put up with this? Get a divorce, rebuild your relationship with your daughter, work, and live your life. It's never too late to change." "No way. I love him. He's my everything, my life, my happiness. He's always loved me since school. He's told me so. You should see the letters he writes. Every woman dreams of that kind of love, but not everyone gets lucky," Jessica insisted. Lina fell silent, recalling the time at school when Tom had put a ring on Jessica's finger, only to later confess to her that he liked Lina more and would have chosen her if she'd given any sign. A shudder ran through her at the memory. Thank goodness it wasn't her who received that cursed ring. As the conversation wound down, an uncomfortable feeling settled in her chest, lingering even after they parted ways. Later that day, Lina called her husband. "Honey, where are you? Will you be home soon?" "I'm on my way." "Why?" he replied, his voice cheerful. "I have a surprise for you." "A nice one." "Very nice. You can't even imagine how lucky we are," he exclaimed. "Tell me now," Lina laughed. "Nope, let's just hurry home. I can't wait," he said, and then the call ended. Lina felt a smile spreading across her face as she hurried home. What a blessing it was that her life had turned out this way.